the dim light of a church, a seemingly ordinary priest wrestles with a haunting doubt, only to witness a miracle that shakes the foundation of his faith. A consecrated host begins to bleed before his very eyes, igniting an uproar among the congregation. Amid gasps and whispers, lives are forever changed. Yet one question lingers: how can such a miracle transcend the bounds of skepticism? As a 12-year-old boy named Carlo begins a journey to uncover the truth behind this divine encounter, an extraordinary legacy of faith is about to unfold. But to understand how we got to this moment, we must first travel back to the beginning of a miraculous tale. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. In the bustling city of Milan, Italy, where ancient architecture harmonizes with the modern world, a 12-year-old boy named Carlo Acutis sat alone at a desk cluttered with books and papers. The bright screen of his computer illuminated his earnest face as he typed fervently, his fingers dancing with determination across the keyboard. This was no ordinary evening for Carlo. It was a moment of deep exploration, a quest fueled by his immense passion for the Eucharist. Carlo leaned closer, his eyes reflecting both inquisitiveness and awe. He was immersed in researching the profound mystery behind Eucharistic miracles. From those miraculous claims in churches around the world, each tale resonated with him, igniting a fire in his young heart that was both personal and fervent. Tonight, however, was different. This night marked the beginning of an extraordinary journey, one that would intertwine his life with a historical miracle that happened in a small Italian town long ago. As he scrolled through information about the Bolsena miracle of 1263, Carlo's excitement grew. Images of a consecrated host, stained with blood, appeared on his screen, images that seemed to leap from the page and take on a life of their own. He read about the doubts of Father Peter, the priest who celebrated Mass and witnessed the miraculous bleeding. Carlo's mind raced with questions and wonder. How could such a miracle occur? What kind of faith could withstand the storms of skepticism and doubt? He could hardly contain himself as he read, feeling an unwavering connection to a moment that had forever changed the course of history. With each paragraph, he could almost feel the texture of the host against his fingers, picturing the congregation's awe as the miraculous event unfolded before their eyes. He paused, rereading lines and absorbing the weight of the story. The significance of that day in Bolsena was not just about the blood that poured from the host. It was about faith, its deepest struggles, its triumphs, and its ability to transcend time and doubt. The significance of how this miracle prompted Pope Urban IV to establish the Feast of Corpus Christi began to dawn on him, a legacy born from someone's search for truth and conviction. The more he investigated, the more he felt connected to the pursuit of understanding the divine. Each new detail stirred within him a sense of responsibility, as if he was being called to share this story with the world. Over the following weeks, Carlo dedicated his time to this obsession, uploading relevant articles and images on his digital platform, a repository of information fueled by his youthful zeal. His parents watched in awe, but also with concern. Their son spent countless hours at the computer, often forgetting to eat or spend time with friends. Yet something in Carlo's eyes told them that this was more than a hobby. He was on the verge of unveiling a revelation that reached far beyond their modest apartment. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows on the walls, Carlo's mother gently placed a warm hand on his shoulder. "Carlo, are you coming to dinner?" she asked softly. Looking up, he saw the concern etched on her face. He nodded absent-mindedly, then turned back to the computer, a few clicks pulling up images of the Cathedral of Orvieto. The relic called to him like a siren's song. "Mom," he finally said, his eyes lighting up. "What if I could see the relic? The corporal stained with blood. I need to understand it more than I already do. I have to photograph it," he declared, his voice filled with determination. His mother's brow furrowed in thought. "It might not be easy to get there, Carlo," she replied, but he was already lost in a fantasy of pilgrimage. The thought of traveling to Orvieto, to the very location where the miracle had played out, sent shivers of excitement down his spine. What could he document? What stories could he tell through his photography? There was a promise of revelation waiting for him, and he was ready to leap into the unknown, armed with faith and a digital camera. As Carlo prepared for this pilgrimage, his heart raced at the thought of standing before the relic that had once inspired so many. His quest was not merely about the photographs he would capture, it was about uncovering a deeper understanding of faith that would help others. However, would he truly find what he sought? Would the sacred encounter transform his life in the profound way he imagined? As he closed his laptop and prepared for bed, Carlo felt a sense of anticipation bubble within him. He glanced once more at the screen, as if it held the key to his next great adventure. Little did he know, this journey would not only redefine his understanding of the Eucharist, but also home in on his destiny to inspire countless others, their lives forever changed by the miracle he was destined to unveil. In the year 1263, long before Carlo ever discovered the miracle or felt the call toward Orvieto, a profound event unfolded under the solemn vaulted ceilings of a church in Bolsena. The air was thick with the scent of incense as the congregation gathered for Mass, their hearts heavy with daily concerns. Among them, a weary priest, Father Peter of Prague, wrestled with an inner turmoil that seemed to gnaw at his very soul. As Father Peter stood at the altar, the flickering candlelight danced along his face, reflecting a spirit tormented by doubt. He had traveled far, carrying the weight of his disbelief regarding the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Could the bread and wine truly become the body and blood of Christ? The question haunted him, and today, as he prepared for the consecration, his heart felt heavy. Yet duty compelled him to lead his flock, even as uncertainty coursed through him. The priest lifted the host, reciting the familiar words of consecration. It was in this moment, intense and sacred, that something miraculous began to unfold. As he spoke the final words, "This is my body," the tension in the air shifted. To his utter astonishment, Father Peter saw blood began to seep from the host, staining it dramatically. His heart raced as he staggered back, wrestling with disbelief. Could this truly be happening? The sight before him was both awe-inspiring and unsettling, a clear challenge to the very doubts that plagued him. Gasps echoed through the congregation, eyes widened in shock and confusion as they witnessed the phenomenon that unfolded at the altar. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Look, the host is bleeding." A sickening fear gripped Father Peter. He was acutely aware that he was at the center of something unimaginable. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he knelt before the altar, clutching the relic that had transformed before his eyes. This act was not merely a miracle, it was a supernatural assertion of faith that cut through skepticism and doubt. As he gazed upon the corporal stained with blood, something profound began to shift within him. No longer could he deny the presence of Christ. The blood bore witness to a reality beyond anything he had ever fathomed. The church erupted in fervor. Men, women, and children rushed forward, their hearts filled with reverence and wonder, imploring for a closer look. In the boisterous crowd, there was a palpable sense of transformation. This event unleashed a wave of devotion that would ripple through generations, changing the landscape of faith in the church. Amidst the chaos, Father Peter found clarity. The miracle was a calling, a testament to God's love and presence in the Eucharist that could not be silenced. As he raised the dripping host for all to see, something within him transformed. He felt an overwhelming urge to invite his congregation to believe. "This is real. This is Christ," he shouted, his voice echoing in the hallowed space, resonating with newfound conviction. The fervor grew into a movement. Even Pope Urban IV, upon hearing about this remarkable event, understood the implications of the miracle. The Church needed to honor this profound testimony to Christ's presence. Father Peter's struggle transformed into a conduit for faith, and the miracle of Bolsena would endure through time, calling believers to reflect upon the mystery of the Eucharist. Weeks after the miraculous event, as the early autumn leaves began to fall, Father Peter stood before a gathering of bishops, including Pope Urban IV. The air was filled with anticipation as they discussed the implications of the miracle. The priest shared his experience, recounting the moment of divine intervention that shattered his doubts and transformed his faith. "This is a profound truth we cannot ignore," he insisted. "We must create a feast to honor the miracle, to reconnect our people with the sacred." Moved by Father Peter's testimony, Pope Urban IV declared the establishment of a new feast, Corpus Christi, a celebration dedicated to the body and blood of Christ. It was a bold step, one that would resonate through history and bolster the faith of countless believers. The Pope turned to the renowned theologian St. Thomas Aquinas, commissioning him to compose hymns that would evoke the spiritual essence of the miracle. As the feast day approached, the anticipation among the faithful surged. People traveled from far and wide, eager to participate in this new celebration that honored the Eucharist. The air was electric, filled with prayers and songs that exalted the mystery of faith that had been reaffirmed in Bolsena. Deep within his heart, Father Peter knew that this miracle was not just a turning point for him. It was a call to all believers to acknowledge the profound presence of Christ. The blood-stained corporal had become a symbol of faith, hope, and unity. It wasn't merely an event confined to history. It was a living truth that would reverberate through the ages, inviting each person to seek a deeper understanding of their faith. As the lights dimmed in the church that day and the candles flickered softly, Father Peter remained still, contemplating the miraculous journey from doubt to faith. Could it truly be that a simple act of belief could transmit such power? The answers were being woven into the fabric of the Church's history and into the hearts of those who encountered the miraculous presence. As Carlo continued to explore this profound moment in time from his desk in Milan, the tapestry of miracles would intertwine further with his own journey. The call to Orvieto was now intertwined with the legacy of Bolsena, becoming a guiding light that would illuminate his quest for faith and understanding. But would a simple boy's dreams and photographs redefine the impact of such a historical event? That awaited him on his pilgrimage, patiently waiting to unveil the sacred narratives that had endured the test of time. Carlo dashed back to his desk, overflowing with enthusiasm after his pilgrimage to Orvieto. His camera, filled with images that spoke volumes of history and faith, rested beside him, its lens still warmed by the gentle light of the cathedral. The boy now found himself not just a witness to a miracle, but a storyteller yearning to share the depth of his discoveries with the world. The moment his feet crossed the threshold back into his room, he felt a surge of inspiration. He switched on his laptop, opening a digital document he had started long ago, titled "The Miraculous Journey, From Eucharistic Doubts to Faith." The title seemed to encapsulate not only his recent experiences, but also the journey of faith that had spanned centuries, beginning with Father Peter in Bolsena. Carlo's fingers flew across the keyboard as he recounted the profound moments that left an imprint on his heart. He wrote about standing before the corporal, feeling the weight of its history pressing down on him, the dusty relic alive with stories of believers across the ages. He described the emotions that flooded through him, the awe, the reverence, and the unshakable sense of connection to a legacy that stretched back to the miraculous event of one fateful Mass. As he recalled Monsignor Chiaretti's words, "Your passion can help illuminate this truth," he understood the responsibility he bore. His mission extended beyond his own spiritual growth. Carlo envisioned a project, an exhibition showcasing his photographs, weaving in narratives of the miracle and its historical significance. He imagined a community event where people could gather, filled with curiosity and awe, sharing their own experiences of faith. Would they be able to see the miracle as he had? Could he ignite the same fervor in their hearts? As he began to formulate his ideas, Carlo considered the best way to present his work. He decided to build a digital platform, an interactive experience that would allow people to explore each photograph and learn about the miracle. He envisioned incorporating paragraphs of history, testimonials, and even video clips of his pilgrimage, creating a thorough tapestry that intertwined visual storytelling with rich narrative. Soon, Carlo began reaching out. He contacted his school's art department, seeking guidance on how to polish his photography skills and make the most of his upcoming exhibition. The faculty embraced his passion, encouraging him to refine his ideas. They suggested organizing a planning committee comprised of classmates eager to help, allowing Carlo to create an inclusive project that involved the entire school. Word spread quickly. The students and teachers rallied together. Carlo's excitement bubbled over as they brainstormed ideas for the exhibition. They debated venue options, an art gallery at school, the local church, even the town square. Each possibility carried a unique promise. Who would come? How would they feel when they saw the relic through Carlo's eyes? As he poured himself into this endeavor, Carlo felt an invigorating blend of nerves and joy. The launch of the exhibition was set for a Saturday in early June, coinciding with the feast of Corpus Christi. This timing felt serendipitous, and he hoped it would draw a crowd eager to connect with the sacred. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, Carlo tirelessly prepared. He displayed stunning images of the cathedral's exterior, the mystical stained glass windows, and of course, the sacred corporal itself. Alongside each photograph, he inscribed narratives that captured the miracle's history and significance. He included stories of Father Peter's struggle with doubt, his transformative encounter with faith, and how Orvieto had stood strong as a beacon for believers throughout the ages. As the day of the exhibition approached, Carlo found himself observing the intricate dance of excitement and anxiety. He hung each framed photo carefully, worried that every detail of the layout would speak to the heart of his viewers. On the opening night, the lights dimmed, and a soft hum filled the air, a mixture of laughter, hushed conversations, and flickering candlelight. He stood nervously by the entrance, greeting familiar faces from school and church. Mr. and Mrs. Rossi, their warm smiles welcomed him. They had been his neighbors since childhood, and quickly made their way toward the first display. "Carlo, we are so proud of you," Mrs. Rossi exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with pride. As they explored the exhibition, Carlo joined them. "This picture captures the altar just as I saw it," he explained, pointing at an image that depicted rays of sunlight streaming through the altar's stained glass. It felt otherworldly, like heaven and earth intersecting in that moment. They moved through the various displays, and Carlo shared stories that brought depth to each image. The couple marveled at the way Carlo articulated the miracle's essence. Their reflective silence was interrupted by a group of teenagers who had also come to support him. They eagerly shared their impressions, asking questions that sparked animated discussions about faith and belief. "Did you truly feel the blood on the corporal as you photographed it?" one girl asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Carlo paused for a moment, energized by her question. It was more than just seeing. It felt like being invited into a sacred space. "I realized that this miracle is alive, not just a part of history, but a living testament to faith." The night unfolded beautifully, the conversations blossoming into a deeper community dialogue where stories of struggles and doubts began to emerge, each echoing the sentiments Father Peter once felt. The photos illuminated the room, creating an altar of reflections that drew them closer together. As the evening drew to a close and guests began to slowly drift away, Carlo felt a profound sense of fulfillment and gratitude. He had set out to document a miracle, but ended up weaving an entire tapestry of faith, inviting others to recognize their narrative within it. With joy radiating in his heart, he watched as people left the gallery with newfound whispers of wonder. They were enriched not only by the visual experience, but profoundly moved by shared beliefs and human connection. The seeds of faith had begun to sprout anew, ensuring that the miracle of Bolsena would not be forgotten. In that moment, Carlo realized that his pilgrimage to Orvieto was not merely a personal journey, it had blossomed into a sacred mission. Through his lens, Carlo had captured not just a series of images, but a powerful testament to faith that would resonate far beyond his own experience, igniting hope in the hearts of others as they too sought a divine encounter. The story of the miracle would continue, the narrative of faith enduring in the lives of all who shared in this extraordinary evening, forever intertwined in a remarkable journey that had transcended time and space. Weeks turned into months after the successful premiere of Carlo's documentary, and the echoes of applause still resonated in his heart. As he walked through the bustling streets of Milan, he couldn't help but notice how the project had changed him, not just as a photographer, but as a person, as a vessel for faith. The experience of gathering stories about miracles had awakened a calling in him, igniting a desire to continue sharing these narratives of grace with others. Carlo found himself reminiscing about the stories he had collected, the elderly figures whose testimonies detailed divine encounters, each woven into a beautiful tapestry of hope and resilience. The documentary had merely scratched the surface. There was a vast sea of faith and miracles waiting to be explored, and he felt an insatiable urge to dive deeper. One crisp autumn evening, under a sky scattered with stars, Carlo sat in his room, flicking through his notes and organizing the footage. Inspired, he decided to reach out to more individuals beyond his immediate community, those who had been touched by miracles outside the bounds of history in parishes across Italy. Each new story could contribute to a greater understanding of the transcendent power of faith. With renewed determination, Carlo opened his laptop and began composing emails to various churches and communities throughout the country, inviting them to share their own experiences of miracles. He spoke of the film he had previously created and how it had provoked discussions, igniting a fire of faith in his local parish. "Let's unite our stories," he proposed. "We can show how miracles touch lives in so many different ways." Within days, responses began pouring in. Churches from different regions expressed their eagerness to participate in this new project. Word spread quickly through local networks and social media, creating buzz around Carlo's initiative. The prospect of meeting new people and hearing their experiences filled him with invigorating anticipation. Before embarking on this journey, he knew he needed to assemble a trusted team of friends who had assisted him with the first documentary. Over coffee one afternoon, he shared his vision. "I want to travel the country, capturing testimonies and miracles from various communities. It can create a larger narrative that binds us together," Carlo explained passionately, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. His friends nodded, their excitement mirroring his own. "Count me in," said Luca, whose skills in video editing had significantly improved since the first film. "This sounds incredible, and I'd love to help bring it to life visually." Each of his teammates was ready to jump on board, eager to dive into this new adventure. The plans unfolded quickly. They organized logistics, mapped routes, and scheduled interviews. The thrill of adventure swirled among them as they anticipated the upcoming road trips, destinations that would lead them to churches across Tuscany, Umbria, and beyond. The first stop on their journey was a small village called Castiglione, nestled in the rolling hills of Tuscany. When they arrived, they were greeted by Father Marco, the local priest who had revived the parish with his passionate sermons and dedication to communal faith. "Welcome! We're excited to have you here," he said, his face alight with warmth. Father Marco led them into the heart of the parish, a beautifully rustic church adorned with vibrant frescoes. The atmosphere was thick with devotion. Candles flickered around the altar, casting soft shadows on the walls. "It is within these walls that many miracles have occurred," he shared, gesturing reverently. Carlo and his team quickly got to work, setting up equipment and preparing for the first interview. They felt the palpable joy surrounding them, the sense that this place thrived on shared stories of faith and resilience. Father Marco introduced them to Maria, a longtime parishioner whose life had been transformed through experiences of faith and divine healing. As she seated herself in front of the camera, the ancient church's natural light illuminated her face. "When I faced illness, I was consumed by fear, but I turned to God in prayer," she began, her voice steady yet trembling with emotion. "In my darkness, a miracle unfolded, not through medicine alone, but through the unwavering support of my community and the presence of God." As they recorded Maria's testimony, a reverent silence filled the room. Carlo could sense the importance of her words, how her vulnerability was laced with strength. "It was the love of the congregation and the prayers sent up for me that brought me back to health, and that is a miracle," she concluded, tears sparkling in her eyes. After capturing her powerful story, the crew packed up and headed to the village square where a local festival was taking place. Music wafted through the air, and villagers showcased their homemade delicacies. Carlo seized the opportunity to speak with others, encouraging them to share their experiences with faith and miracles. Their conversations illustrated the bonds that formed through shared beliefs, vivid anecdotes that enriched the documentary's depth. As the sunset painted the sky in vibrant hues, Carlo and his friends gathered around a long table adorned with local food, sharing laughter and stories with the villagers. The sense of community enveloped them, feeding not only their bodies, but their souls as well. It was evenings like these that further fueled Carlo's desire to weave a rich narrative that captured the fullness of faith. The days of traveling continued. From Castiglione, they ventured to the coastal town of Portofino, known for its breathtaking vistas and strong community ties grounded in faith. Here they conducted interviews with fishermen and their families, each recounting how support from their parish had helped them through storms, both literal and metaphorical. Along the way, they encountered countless narratives that spoke to the heart of what it meant to believe. Miracles of healing, reconciliation, and the small moments of grace that often go unnoticed. Each story reminded them that faith is not only about the grand gestures, but also the quiet whispers of hope that guide individuals through life's trials. As they documented these experiences, Carlo began to realize the true essence of his undertaking. This documentary had become more than just a collection of miracles. It was an embodiment of a living faith that connected people from across the country. Each interview and interaction contributed to a greater understanding of the divine, offering a glimpse into the sacredness that breathed through their collective narratives. Finally, after countless adventures and a library of stories, their journey culminated in a massive celebration in Rome. Throughout the city, they planned a gathering where everyone could come together to hear stories from all corners of Italy, showcasing the breadth of miracles that had inspired individuals. As the day approached, excitement and anticipation rippled through Carlo and his team. They turned their hearts to organizing the final details, eager to honor the essence of each testimony they had gathered. The event would not only function as a screening of their documentary, but also as a gathering for faith sharing, creating a space for dialogue, connection, and unity among believers. Once the day arrived, the sun shone brightly on the ancient city. Families gathered from all over, people walking together hand in hand as they approached the open-air venue. The atmosphere was vibrant and electric, an explosion of color and joy, with stalls featuring food, music, and cultural exhibits from different regions of Italy. As the crowd settled, Carlo took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage, meeting the eyes of his friends who stood by his side, beaming with pride. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice resonant with gratitude. Today, we celebrate the miracles that have shaped our lives, the stories that connect us all in our shared faith. Carlo's heart swelled as he looked out over the sea of faces, filled with anticipation and warmth. He briefly introduced their documentary, hoping to inspire connections, recognizing that each individual carried their own story, interwoven into the fabric of faith. The screen flickered to life, illuminating their collective journey. As images of each miraculous tale filled the screen, viewers were enveloped in a sense of community, a living tapestry that affirmed their shared experiences and nurtured the seeds of belief. Throughout the presentation, Carlo felt empowered, not just by the stories he shared, but by the resilience of each person present. The conversation that followed sparked new connections as attendees exchanged stories, inspiring one another with their own miraculous encounters. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a sense of transcendent connection filled the air, a beautiful blend of laughter, tears, and reverent silence. Carlo realized that this was what it meant to be part of something larger, a community founded on faith, intertwined through shared experiences of miracles that occurred in ordinary lives. The evening wound down, but the conversations continued, a vibrant exchange of belief and hope echoing through the air. Carlo understood that this was just the beginning. Their work would carry on, transcending boundaries and shaping future narratives of faith, inviting others to engage in the divine stories that continued to unfold. With gratitude flowing through every fiber of his being, Carlo felt a sense of fulfillment. The seeds of faith had indeed taken root, flourishing in communities across Italy and within the hearts of those who dared to believe. As he looked at those around him, friends, families, and newfound acquaintances, he knew they had created a lasting legacy of stories that celebrated the miracle of everyday life and the divine grace that illuminated their paths. The journey was far from over. It had morphed into an ongoing invitation to witness the boundless miracles that awaited discovery. The months that followed the festival in Lucenza marked a transformative period in Carlo's life. The seeds of faith they had sown in numerous communities began to sprout with vigor. Each new festival they organized was not merely an event. It blossomed into a celebration of shared humanity, courage, and the miracles that many had long carried in their hearts but had never voiced. One chilly afternoon, as autumn leaves danced in the crisp air, Carlo and his friends gathered at a local cafe to plan their next miracle festival. The warmth of the space enveloped them, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee mixed with the sweet scent of pastries provided the perfect backdrop for their brainstorming. "I received an email from a parish in Naples," Carlo announced excitedly. "They've had numerous healings and miraculous signs over the years. They want us to come and document their stories." His friends leaned in, spirits high with anticipation. "Naples! That's an incredible place to explore faith stories. We should start by researching the most significant miracles they've experienced." Maria's enthusiasm shone through as she pulled out her notebook, ready to jot down potential questions and themes for interviews. As plans took shape, Carlo recalled the immense impact the previous festivals had left on him. They had not only illuminated tales of miracles, but had also united disparate communities through a shared sense of faith. Now, he wanted to dig deeper. "What if we asked our attendees to share their everyday miracles?" he suggested. "Those moments might seem small, but they can hold as much weight as the grand stories." His friends paused, considering his words. "You mean like finding hope in the little things?" Luca replied, looking thoughtful. "That could add a new layer to the narrative we're building." Carlo nodded eagerly. "Exactly, like the kindness of a stranger, a moment of clarity when facing hardship, or the simple beauty of a sunrise that renews our spirits." Fueled by this new direction, they prepared to travel to Naples with open hearts and receptive minds. Upon arrival, the vibrant city pulsated with life, its rich history enveloping them like a warm embrace. The colors, sounds, and aromas felt invigorating, infusing their purpose with renewed energy as they made their way to the parish. Father Antonio, the local priest, welcomed them warmly. His eyes lit up with enthusiasm as he shared the history of miraculous events documented in their church, recounting stories of healing and hope. "The faith of our community is woven into each miracle we celebrate," he said passionately. As the days unfolded, Carlo and his team immersed themselves in the stories that flowed through the parish. They listened intently to parishioners who shared experiences of recovery from illness, miraculous encounters during times of despair, and moments of unexpected grace that had reshaped their lives. One particular story struck a chord with Carlo. He met Julia, a soft-spoken woman in her 30s who had faced a lengthy battle with an autoimmune disease. "For years, I felt trapped in my own body," she recounted, her voice steady yet tinged with emotion. "I prayed, surrounding myself with the scriptures, and one night I felt a profound peace wrap around me. The next morning, the pain had lessened, and slowly I began to heal." Her vulnerability and resilience left Carlo in awe. "Julia, your story is incredible," he said softly, tears welling in his eyes. "It highlights the power of both faith and community in healing." Their filming continued, capturing these powerful narratives, each a testament to life's unpredictability and the miracles that emerged within the mundane. The deeper they delved, the more they understood that every story was a thread woven into a shared tapestry of faith. As the festival day approached, excitement built around the upcoming event. The parishioners eagerly prepared, collaborating to create a celebration that embraced the heart of their miraculous journey. Food stalls featuring traditional Neapolitan dishes, music that echoed the spirit of the city, and art displays showcasing visual interpretations of faith were only some of the highlights planned. When the day finally arrived, Carlo stood at the entrance of the crowded parish hall, brimming with anticipation. Laughter and conversations filled the air as smiles lit up the faces of old friends and new acquaintances coming together under a shared purpose. Father Antonio opened the festivities with a heartfelt address, his energy lifting the atmosphere and creating a sense of belonging among all. "Today, we celebrate not only the major miracles of our past, but also the small ones we witness in our everyday lives. Let's embrace each other's stories and the faith that unites us." As the discussions began, Carlo moved from group to group, reveling in the connections sparked through shared faith. Stories were exchanged, laughter echoed, and moments of understanding unfolded in delightful bursts. Each interaction deepened his appreciation for the power of community, a living testament to the beauty of shared experiences and faith. Inspired by the conversations, Carlo introduced a new segment during the festival, the Everyday Miracles Wall. He encouraged attendees to write down their own small miracles, encounters or events that had filled their lives with grace. The wall quickly transformed into a collage of love and hope as people candidly shared their testimonies. As participants stood by the wall adding their stories, Carlo felt a sense of purpose wash over him. He realized these small moments were just as important as the grand tales of healing and divine encounters. They reflected resilience, humanity, and the everyday miracles that bind us together in faith. Later that night, after the sun had set and the stars twinkled above, Carlo stepped aside to take a breath amidst the joyous chaos. He looked around to see families embracing, friends laughing together, and new bonds forged through shared experiences. The sense of unity and love flooded his heart, grounding him in the truth that miracles persist in myriad forms. There, in the warmth of the church, surrounded by laughter and heartfelt connections, he understood this movement went beyond him and his friends. It was unstoppable, blooming within the hearts of each believer present. As the festival continued into the night, Carlo gathered everyone close to celebrate in its fullness. These past days have been a remarkable journey, a reminder that faith can illuminate our lives in profound ways. Let this community be a beacon, inspiring hope and miracles in one another. He knew their journey was far from over. The stories they had collected were seeds that would continue to bloom in communities across Italy, igniting conversations that would resonate with generations. The miracles they uncovered together transcended time, encouraging individuals to share their own narratives and nurture a legacy of faith and resilience. With renewed vigor within him, Carlo felt the spirit of the miraculous pulsing through their movement. This was a call to witness the extraordinary in every moment, to hold fast to the threads that united them while they gathered stories ripe for sharing. As the evening came to a close, Carlo and his friends exchanged glances filled with understanding. They were bound together in this noble mission of illuminating faith through shared stories. He embraced the knowledge that he had become part of something much larger, a living legacy of miracles unfolding through communal celebration, one story at a time. In the weeks that followed the festival, Carlo connected with a growing network of volunteers and families eager to keep the spirit of faith alive. The miracle circles had taken root, transforming into a monthly gathering where stories continued to bloom and flourish. Each session provided a welcoming space for individuals to share their experiences and deepened the community's sense of belonging. As Carlos walked through the vibrant streets of Milan one afternoon, he reflected on the journey thus far. The city around him rippled with life. The scent of roasted chestnuts filled the air, and children laughed as they chased pigeons in the plaza. It felt like a community awakening. Their mission had inspired not only conversations, but also a thirst for deeper connections among families, friends, and even those who had once felt isolated in their struggles. One chilly evening, after a particularly lively circle, Carlo and his friends gathered in a cozy cafe to discuss their future initiatives. Maria was flipping through their journal, a collection of stories and miraculous experiences shared during the gatherings. "Look at this," she exclaimed, pointing to a story that detailed a miraculous healing during a local parish retreat. "We need to highlight these narratives more. They show the power of faith in such tangible ways." Carlo nodded, recognizing the essence of their mission. Every individual narrative reinforces the belief that miracles are indeed among us, he affirmed. Sharing these stories can reach far beyond our community. The idea to compile their experiences into a book began to take shape as they discussed how to present these narratives. They envisioned a collection that would not only recount the miracles themselves, but also include reflections and practical guidance on how faith had played a pivotal role in each story. It could become a resource for people looking to reconnect with their faith, especially in trying times, Luca suggested thoughtfully. With renewed focus, they brainstormed title ideas, eventually settling on Miracles Among Us, stories of faith and resilience. Excitement filled the air as they considered the positive impact it might have on individuals struggling with their own spiritual journeys. They set to work. Carlo spearheaded the project, organizing interviews with attendees who had captivating stories, while Maria compiled the narratives into a coherent flow. The writing sessions were filled with laughter, brainstorming, and serious reflections, punctuated by cups of tea and deep discussions about the nature of faith and the miracles they had encountered. As progress surmounted, they identified a publisher willing to support their vision, guiding them on the path towards sharing their reflections with a larger audience. With every draft, Carlo felt the urgency of their mission at the forefront of his mind. He wanted to ensure that the book captured not just the events, but the richness of the human experience behind each miracle. Soon enough, word spread about their upcoming book, and communities in Milan expressed interest in hosting launch parties. The thought thrilled Carlo. It meant more opportunities to gather, more chances to converse about faith. "Let's make these events celebrations, where readers can share their own stories related to the chapters we've written," he urged passionately. As the publication date approached, they set aside time to prepare for launch events that would bring these concepts to life. There were flurries of activity, from creating promotional materials to booking venues. Each night they gathered, an electric energy filled the room. Conversations flowed, plans solidified, and friendships deepened as they embarked on this cooperative endeavor. Finally, the launch day arrived. They hosted an event at a local community center, beautifully adorned with lights and decorations, inviting attendees to engage with the book and share their experiences. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Families gathered around tables, and the scent of fresh bread wafted through the air. When Carlo stepped to the front of the room, he felt both nervous and excited. "Thank you for being here today to celebrate the launch of Miracles Among Us," he began. "This book is not only filled with stories of hope, but also represents the collective strength of our community, reminding us that miracles are woven into the very fabric of our lives." The hall erupted in applause, invigorating Carlo as he looked out at the faces illuminated by hope and anticipation. They invited contributors from the miracle circles to share their stories, and as the testimonies flowed, hope seemed to permeate the space. People began to laugh and cry simultaneously, feeling understood and connected to one another. Each story reaffirmed what Carlo had come to know, that sharing faith stories is a powerful catalyst for healing and connection. As the evening unfolded, a sense of celebration settled in. Books were signed, smiles exchanged, and conversations ignited. Those gathered left, not just with a book, but with the promise of ongoing community. Each reader now part of a larger narrative of miracles and faith that would continue to inspire and uplift others. In the days following the launch, the book began to spread throughout the region, igniting hope in readers and prompting them to share their own stories. The legacy of faith that Carlo and his friends had forged continued to inspire a movement, encouraging others to step into their own miraculous journeys. Amid this flourishing legacy, Carlo felt profound gratitude. He had sought to document miracles, but found himself part of something larger than he had ever imagined. The ongoing story of every individual drawn into the tapestry of faith and resilience. With each shared narrative, they would continue to create a legacy that celebrated the miracles embedded in everyday life. The journey continued, a divine invitation to witness and share the extraordinary in the ordinary, ensuring that the spirit of connection and hope would flourish for generations to come. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.